You're listening to an Awkward Human podcast on the 5x5 network. If you want to find out more about this show and all the other cool stuff that we do, visit awkwardhuman.com. Hello and welcome to the Awkward Human Survival Guide. This week we're talking about...
listening habits.
A controversial...
We'll just do it again rather than start the recording, because I'll just throw that in somewhere. Hello and welcome to the Awkward Human Survival Guide. This week we're talking about...
listening habits.
A controversial...
Can't do it.
A controversial secret.
Controversial. Try that.
Controversial.
That's a lot of S's.
Yeah, when we're gay, it's
I know.
It's
Yeah, it's those
so
S's.
hard.
Hello and welcome to the Awkward Human Survival Guide. This week we're talking about...
listening habits.
A controversial...
Do you want to switch?
No, let Erica can start with that one. Okay, so you both know what you're going to say.
Yes.
Okay. Hello and welcome to the Awkward Human Survival Guide. This week we're talking about... Hello and welcome to the Awkward Human Survival Guide. This week we're talking about...
a controversial thing.
God damn it.
I can start. Unless
Okay,
you,
here.
Erica needs to
Okay,
start.
let's do this.
Lovers and
Oh,
Muppets.
Richard, you're crying.
I am right.
I think whoever says
He's
a controversial
upset.
secret should go last. Because
I'll
there's
do
going to
it.
be laughter, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do the
And
same order,
a
but
controversial
he'll say it.
secret.
Okay, so...
So I'll go last?
No.
Hello and welcome to the Awkward Human Survival Guide. This week we're talking about...
Mothers and Muppets.
Listening habits.
Proving your spiritual innocence.
And a controversial secret.
We did it. Hey everybody. This episode went long. You may have guessed that from the trouble we had with the opening, but we actually had a lot to cover this week, and Erica's going out of town for a little while, so we wanted to get some extra content in advance, so we let this one go a little long. We'll be splitting it into 2 parts, so it would be kind of somewhat of an abrupt ending, I suppose. If your question didn't get covered and I said it was going to happen this week and I forget to email you, then send me a letter. I will send you an early copy if you don't want to wait. But you probably heard back from me at this. I mean, you have heard back from me at this point. So if you're fine with waiting, don't worry about it. It'll be out next week. We've already gotten it taken care of. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say just up front, so you're not confused why it ends at the end, kind of in the middle of a show. The remaining questions will be handled on their own on the next week's episode, 216. So we'll see you again then. Hello and welcome to the episode. I'm Adam Dotchis.
I'm Erica Elson. What a lovely group of people we've assembled here today.
Yes, we have very special guests, and it's a full table.
It's a full table. We have Laugh Attack Richard over here.
Nobody
Who
understands what that means.
couldn't get through the intro,
Oh,
so we had to switch that up.
They're gonna understand what it means.
Okay.
I'm not
Well,
saving
you know
that one
what?
for the
Words
end.
are hard. That's all I
Words
gotta
are
say.
hard.
Words
Words
are
are
hard.
Good luck with the show, then.
have meaning.
IUD guy and IUD girl are here today as well.
Also known as Lindsay and John.
Also known as Lindsay and John.
Time's up.
What, you need names now?
But like, who really knows that your names are Lindsay and John? So
No, IUD
well,
guy.
we probably shouldn't have said.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Lindsay is wearing a lovely orange sweater today.
Oh, thanks.
Which beautifully complements her skin tone, but also beautifully complements my story, which I'm about to share
All right.
about
I
a carrot.
I thought we were starting with their story, and then we were going to get to your carrot.
Oh.
Okay, well, that's a tease, you guys.
Yep. So later on, we'll be talking about orange things.
Yep.
What is the story we're starting with?
I thought we were talking about some sort of
Talking
weight
about
loss
people,
thing.
Oh
the
no,
way they
that's
look.
an awkward thing I want to
That's
talk about.
later.
It's like a discussion,
Okay,
but it's not a story.
I didn't understand where this was all going, apparently. But
You know
okay.
how sometimes we're like, let's talk about this thing that like is a thing in society.
Okay.
It's like that.
All right. Well, let's start with your carrot then.
Oh,
Okay.
here we go.
Great.
I guess we're gonna have to double team this one. Just
Yeah, because
to
we double
convey it.
teamed that carrot. So
Yes.
Okay.
this story started, well, I mean, really it started probably around age 4 when I started having tonsil problems.
So we're going back a little farther than I was expecting.
So I was sick
thought
all
we were
the
gonna go back to
time.
Monday.
No, I need to tell them about the holes first.
Okay.
So I was sick all the time as a kid. I got my adenoids removed, which are similar to tonsils, but they were what made it impossible for me to breathe through my nose. But then,
those
And you had that polio. So you were
Right.
bedbound
Yeah.
for years.
so, but I never got my tonsils out, but I was always sick. And as I realized in my adult life, if you're sick all the time, you tend to have these little craters in your tonsils. Kind of looks like the moon, and stuff tends to get stuck in them, therefore making it much easier for you to get sick because bacteria just gets trapped in the tonsils, and it's kind of a vicious cycle. I've had these things sometimes, which I learned again as an adult, are called tonsil stones. I had those a lot when I was a kid, and it's like basically if you eat and little tiny pieces of food get stuck in your tonsils, like microscopic, they develop bacteria, and then it's just like this little hard, like white piece of shit that gets stuck in your tonsil, and you gotta like get it out.
How long do they get stuck for?
Hopefully not more than a day.
So that whole process only takes a day?
No. Like it's once you've seen it.
Notice that it's stuck.
You've seen it, then you're like, oh, gross. Because it's like a chunk of bacteria. Like, you don't want that in you. So eventually, usually as you eat or brush your teeth or whatever, it'll just come out, or you gargle or something. So that usually is like kind of near the top or the side. I've never had anything actually go inside one of my tonsil holes before, because I always thought, oh, it's kind of like a crater, so it goes in, it goes out, you know? Mm-hmm. So on Monday, I was over at Adam's house, and I was munching on some carrots, baby carrots, and munching. Eventually, I'm like, oh, one of them is kind of stuck in my throat. But
this was the first time?
The first time that something's got stuck inside the tonsil.
Oh, okay.
I've only had stuff above or behind.
You were telling me about it like just a couple of weeks ago that stuff gets stuck in you.
The tonsil stones, yeah. But those aren't in the craters. Those are like where the tonsils move around and stuff.
I see.
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, everyone's gotten a piece of food stuck in their throat before. I just need a cough and it'll come out. And so I see it in the mirror, and it's in one of the little craters. And I'm like, oh, it's kind of just sitting there, right? And it's lodged in a weird position, and there's this little pointy tip sticking out. And so I move around and I eat. I'm like, as soon as I have like proper dinner, like it'll come out. Doesn't come out. Adam's like, oh, do you want to use my water pick to get it out? I'm like, no, not really. I don't really want to squirt water into my throat. I think it'll just come out normally.
That doesn't happen.
Does not come out. And the more time passes, the more all I can think about is how I can feel this little tiny piece of carrot in my throat. And I'm like, this is so weird. Like, I brushed my teeth. I gargled so many times. I tried warm water, cold water. Nothing is coming out. And it looks like it's about a millimeter, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, why does this fucking thing want to come out of the crater?
Well, so you eventually gave up on it.
So I gave up, and I went over...
This is the part where I need to step in, because...
Oh, well, I didn't talk about the chopstick yet.
Well, that's okay.
Jesus.
But we can get to that. But but you sent me a text saying, I might want to come over, and then I said, okay, just let me know. And then you let me know, and then you came over, and I had forgotten to tell Richard that you were coming. And so I was like, oh yeah, Erica's going to, just squirt a carrot out of her mouth real quick in the middle of a video game. So it wasn't a problem. It was just kind of funny. I guess if, in your case, Richard, if you didn't know that was about to happen.
It was like Tuesday night after dinner, and Jacob had tried to get it out with the chopstick, because he was like, I can totally get it. It's really close. And I just felt it moving more and more, and then I was like, I can't, I have to go. So I literally
my question was, why didn't you use tweezers?
Yeah, aren't there better ways?
The problem with tweezers is you'd have to put your hand inside the mouth, and that makes you gag.
You need long ones.
Yeah, you need something long enough.
You still have that?
What?
A gag reflex?
You need something long enough that you can just put the whole thing in. All the tweezers I have are too small.
Gag reflexes are different when it's like your own...
Well, it's also different when like a whole hand is going in there.
It's hard.
That's bulimia.
Yeah, it's hard to. I think it's hard to turn it off when you're, when there's like you don't know exactly what's happening. Like if it's a penis, it just kind of fills up the whole thing. So,
well, maybe.
If you're lucky.
It's a wishful thinking.
If it doesn't, there's a pretty good chance it's not going to make it back there in the first place. So
the chopstick didn't really make me gag at all, but the problem was that it just felt like we were moving it more and more, and it was becoming more and more unpleasant. So I basically ran over to Adam's, and I was like, I have to get this thing out of me. And so I squirted it out with the water pick, and it turns out,
it came right out.
All I could see was about a tenth of the piece of carrot. It was about a centimeter long. And I was like, oh my God, this was inside my tonsil. It was so gross. Like the very tip was a different color, and that was the part that was exposed in my mouth. The rest had formed a hole that looked like it had been made by like a safety pin.
I just can't believe it got that lodged in there.
It was really, really in there.
I mean, it definitely was, because I saw it in there and I saw it when it came out.
And you saw the hole.
Well, you posted about it. You gave a very long, specific posting as to what happened and tagged me in it on Facebook. And I don't post a lot on Facebook, like rarely, if ever. So for that reason, if someone tags me in something, it just like stays at the top of my page for like weeks until someone else tags me in something. And so like after a few days had gone by, I just couldn't fucking stare at this story about this carrot lodged in your tonsil anymore. So I had to remove myself from the situation. But I'm glad that we can be talking about it here today.
But the reason I was so detailed was it was such a weird experience that I was like, I need to know if someone else has had this. So I had to go into the detail to be like, I'm not talking about something above the tonsil. I'm talking about something piercing through your tonsil and just fucking sitting there. Mm-hmm. So then then Adam decided we had to preserve the piece of carrot.
Oh,
because
It's so
Erica.
weird.
after we took it out, we're like, well, we can't throw this away. So he was like, we're going to laminate it.
I haven't used my laminator in like a couple months.
Okay.
So he found a card from one of your games, was it?
It was
A
just
couple
like
months.
it
How
was
often are you laminating things?
Well, I was
Not
laminating. I got to
often,
laminate a
not.
card game because it was a lot cheaper to
Okay.
do that than to rush print a sample copy.
Okay.
Like I could have a whole laminator and 100 sheets of lamination paper and print out the card game myself and spend a few hours figuring it out. So I was like, okay, well that's worth like $30
Yeah.
instead of the like 150 it would have cost to rush it, which would have come out terribly because I would have had to resort to a shitty printer. So it's like, no brainer there.
Copy that.
But it was like for a one-time use, so I wanted to jump at the opportunity to laminate something else, and I felt like this was so weird it should be preserved. And Erica said no, and I said I think you should reconsider, and she said if we can talk about it on the podcast. And I'm like, why do you think I'm asking in the first place? So here we are.
Here we
We
are.
laminated
So
our
where
mouth
is it?
carrot.
Where's
It's
the
at my
laminate?
house.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
so what happened when we put it through the laminator?
It's got squished a bit. I wasn't expecting it to.
It got flattened out, and we saw all the different layers, and it was actually even more alarming than before because I was like, oh, that's even so much more carrot that was in me.
What did I write on the speech bubble? Just carrot.
Nothing. We just put the piece of carrot there.
I thought
It
I put
doesn't-
there's no speech bubble that says mouth carrot.
There's a speech bubble and a piece of carrot. That's it.
But the bubble doesn't
Can't
have any
be
writing
here
on
right
it?
now.
We just have the carrot.
Oh, it's
I-
speaking of carrot. That's right.
Was there live,
Right, we-
so
Yeah, and how was the story? How did this play out? What were
It
your
was-
reactions?
gotta
I
get a
didn't
picture
like
of this
it.
to post.
Horrible.
and they were like, "Come look at the carrot." No,
Oh.
You're like, I just want to play Mario Kart.
no,
In my
we were
own
playing
home.
Unravel 2.
Okay.
I told
this was-
Adam to look at my hole in my throat because I thought he'd be interested, like for science.
Richard,
and then
what did-
Adam kept telling Richard, like, "No, you have to see it. You have to see it. You have to." And he was like, "I don't think I have to."
I was like,
think I
no.
need
Well,
that.
yeah.
I mean,
to.
normally
No.
that's my reaction is I don't want to see anything in Erica because of what she's shown me in the past. Like,
You say that, but you
That's
have looked
reasonable.
at a lot of things.
I have looked at a lot of things, and I usually just do it for you. But
But this was for you.
well, no, it was. This one was one that it wasn't for me when I agreed, but after I saw it, I was like, oh, this is a good thing to have seen. Just to
For
like,
science.
well, just for like, if it ever happens to me or Richard or whatever, like it's good to know what it looks like. And so I wanted him to look at it so he would know what it looks like. It's unfortunately not for a fun or enjoyable reason, just, practical.
So here's what I want to say after this story. Listeners, has anything like this ever happened to you? Follow-up question. If so, how do you not live in constant fear that anything could get stuck in your tonsil? Because now I'm like, well, that hole is still there. Like, it's closed up a little bit, but it's like a pore, Do I never eat carrots again? No, because I ate them the next day because I fucking love carrots. But, like, it could happen with anything. It could happen with a popcorn kernel.
Why don't you go to a doctor? Go to
Happen
like
with
an ENT
seed.
and
They're
have them look
going
at
to
your
tell me
throat.
they have
Is
to
it
take
too
them
late?
out.
Yeah, is it too late to get
Oh,
your
it's way
tonsils
too
taken out?
late.
But you can
They
still
won't. They
do
don't.
it.
They won't necessarily say that. It's more
No,
dangerous.
I can still do it, but I've been told because I have
It's
an
more
ENT,
dangerous to take them out.
They've told me like it's gonna be like a week's recovery as an adult,
Yeah.
and I was like, no, I don't want to.
But
do that.
I hear I for whatever reason was looking this up. Apparently now people or scientists or doctors, whoever the fuck does it, they're saying that they shouldn't be
Astronauts.
taking tonsils out because it leaves people more susceptible to illness.
Yes,
Yeah, but
because
they've
they're
always known
bacteria
that.
trappers. So that's your first line of defense are your
Yeah.
tonsils, and when
In
your
my
first line of
case,
defense
it's
is down,
very poor line.
Yeah,
Well, but it is lying.
You're not supposed to remove them unless it's like medically necessary.
And the older you
And
get,
they've
the
known
more
that for a long
invasive the
time, and
surgery is.
It's
Yeah.
weird that they're talking about it now as a thing.
Well, now
Or that
I
you're
feel like
just
we're at
hearing
an
it
age
now.
where like everyone is just debunking everything that kind of got established in the 50s
Yeah.
when like modern medicine
Except
really
this-
came to the
This
fore.
was never a problem.
Yeah, like
Except
vaccinations
homosexuality,
and
am I right?
yeah, just everything's and tonsils and measles and all that stuff. Anyhow, I feel like everything that can be debunked is being debunked. So it's just one in a long line. That's all. But let's just leave them in there, guys. And Erica, just
Stop
get
eating.
yourself a water pick. Just do it. When somebody offers you a water pick, take the water pick.
Well,
No,
now
I
I
wasn't
know.
offering it. I was just for her to use.
No, that's what I
now
mean. Like
know
if
what
some
the solution
yeah.
is. It's like if this happens again, I just go over to Adam's house on a Tuesday and I
Yeah.
just squirt it right out.
On a
Or you could
Tuesday,
spend
no other
$20
day.
on a water pick.
It's
I
just-
mean,
what if
you're
it gets
welcome
stuck
to
on
come use
Wednesday?
Make sure
it.
Richard's
You wait a whole
not
week.
home.
Tip now, but it's
just the tip.
But I mean, like they're really cheap, and it got me to floss. So
I think if it happens a second time, that's gonna make me want to get the water pick.
Yeah.
But so far, I have once out of 32 years, so like, odds are
I just it's like instead of flossing,
that you know
I
of.
can spray my mouth for 20 seconds and it feels like nothing's in it. Whereas with flossing, it just felt like I made my gums bleed. And so I even spray my gums so they'll get tougher. But I really like it. I don't know why I let it sit in a box for 4 years.
Waterpick manufacturers, if you're listening to this, you're welcome to sponsor the Awkward Human Survival Guide.
And if you don't,
I'm
we'll
a
just keep
believer.
talking about you.
Richard uses it. You solved Erica's carrot situation.
3 for 3 here with the Waterpick.
Do you all have experience with the Waterpick?
I just floss
say
like
that
a
I do.
normal person.
Okay, well then we won't have you on when we're getting sponsored.
Yeah.
Good to know.
That's all right.
All right, so what are we talking about now? Weight loss or something?
No.
Yeah. Well,
yes and
in
no.
In a way.
I wasn't here for this conversation, so.
Well, do you want to start?
Sure, why
Start,
not? The conversation, the topic. We're talking about the way you compliment or say anything about someone's physical appearance, where
I guess
nowadays it seems like you just aren't supposed to do it because it can be
There's more
offensive.
inside of us than what's outside
no,
of
not
us.
not
Not
that.
for me.
No, not that. But like, okay, so Lindsay and John came over, and I noticed something physically different about them, and I was like,
Elephantitis.
yes, they're getting much bigger. No, they, I guess you guys have been like dieting and working out and stuff like that, and so like you lost some weight, and I noticed that in a photo that John posted a few weeks ago. But then I saw you guys in person today, and so I said something along the lines of like, I don't want this to sound offensive or
Or I think you said, like, I know you're not supposed
Yeah,
to
I
comment
know.
on
Oh, yeah.
people's
Say that
bodies.
now.
I was getting ready for you to talk about somebody else, and like Boss was like, "Oh God, who got fat?"
yeah. So yeah, that's what I said. I know you're not supposed to say this about people's bodies anymore,
Right.
but I just wanted to like ask or say that you guys look thinner, you guys look good or whatever.
Like, what are you
And
Because fuck what you were looking like before.
yeah.
That's what he was not wanting to
And
say.
so
But you'd be right.
That kind of opens up the conversation of like nowadays you're not supposed to do it because like what I've heard is like some people who may lose weight are not doing it voluntarily, and that it may be attributed to like an illness, or it could be
Right.
like some like a side effect of some medication they're taking
Hello.
or something. And so that's
I'm
why
fine now, but-
nowadays it's like more that just don't do it.
Well, and the idea of like you don't want to say it the wrong way, right? Like you wouldn't want to tell someone, "Oh my God, you look so much better,"
Right.
or make them feel bad if like maybe they worked really hard to lose that weight and they might gain some of it back later, and you don't want them to think like, "Oh, now I look like shit," you know? But I found that it's become like such a taboo thing in our society to even pay someone a compliment. And I find, like, I think it's just about the way you say it. And I don't think people should be worried about it because then it gets so much weirder.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just easy to say, like, oh, you look good today.
Yeah, you look great.
Or you're looking good. You don't have to say that it's because of weight loss or whatever. Like, so last week, when Anayat was here, and he grabbed my arm on the way in, he's like, oh, that's going well or something.
Good for you.
yeah, something like that. And so my first thought was, like, it's been like that for 2 years.
So you probably hadn't touched it.
It's probably, I don't know, he's pretty touchy. But there have been hugs and stuff. I mean, it's fine if he didn't notice. It's like, it's my arm. It doesn't matter. But if anything, it was bigger, a couple years ago. Or I was like in better shape in that arm-wise, I guess. So my first thought was like, well, why didn't you notice me? But before that, but it's like, I also don't care. It was just, but that was like, I had that reaction anyway, because it's like, why is this coming up all of a sudden? It feels weird when it's out of the ordinary. I feel like if you get compliments regularly, or someone's just, they're those nice, like, friendly compliments that don't really mean anything other than like, I want to remind you that I like you and I noticed something about you today. So nothing big, just that maintenance compliment. Like that stuff. I think if you are used to hearing those and someone was like, oh, if they note the change in that case, then it's probably not a big deal.
Well, I can speak to the sort of the opposite side of that, which is if I've been heavier and trying to lose weight, and losing weight is really hard. And so I appreciate it if somebody notices it. You know what I mean?
Same.
It's like, 6 months plus, and I still have more to go of like me like really working hard and like really eating the right things and really exercising, and like it's almost weirder if I haven't seen someone and if they don't notice. Like I'd sort of walk away like, wow, I guess fuck me, right?
I totally
What was it all for? What was it all more. So when I walk away with a friend being like, wow, what are you doing? That's like, I'm such a positive reinforcement person where I'm like, oh my God, somebody noticed. I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, wow, what does it matter? What does it matter? Why am I eating a bread bowl? You know, it's like, I would prefer the recognition.
Like, we've kind of gone too far with the PC-ness if we're now afraid of saying nice things about people.
I think so too.
And I do think it is about how you say it. Saying that somebody looks like, wow, you guys look great. We've heard that a good bit. And
a little bit. You more than me. I think that you're more.
Well, I also look this picture that Richard referred to is a picture of me at Disneyland. We got the Max Pass. We got the it's like pulling up the Excalibur out of the sword out of the stone, and like I got.
You were
the
the one guy to actually do it,
and I was like, damn, I look ripped. So of course I'm gonna put that picture up. It was a very flattering pphoto, and I'm not saying that I haven't worked hard for what I have lost, and that's what led it to even being that good of a picture. But of course, I was looking for good compliments and stuff, and I've fortunately got some. But anyhow, I mean, I've had friends reach out to me. I had a colleague reach out to me and say he saw me at the movie theater, and we didn't even actually see each other. He saw me from like a distance, but he was like, "Dude, what are you doing?" Like basically, I'm going to help him lose weight now because he's noticed that I have lost weight, and that's a good feeling. I mean, especially if you can
that's
help other
a
people.
good place to come from, where you're like, "Hey, you look great. I want to do what you're doing," and not so much like, "Hey, you look great. I'm glad you're like being healthy now."
Glad you're not such a fat bitch anymore. It's like, thanks, Mom.
Being the guy who I've been heavy most of my life, and especially the past few years, but like when somebody's like, "Well, what are you doing?" That when somebody asks like, "What are you doing?" to what have you done to lose weight? It comes across as a little offensive to me.
Same.
And I don't want to have to talk about for you guys. I was like, here's what we're doing, but we sort of offered it up. I don't like it when somebody's like, oh well, what
the way you
what
ask is different
diet?
though.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because what Richard said was, oh, are you guys doing anything different? And yes, what we're doing different is we're eating better and we're exercising. But from I think the women in your family, there's a lot of weight issues, and the women, it's always been hard for me to sort of come into that family too, because they all like to talk about weight, body type, what you're eating. Yeah. This person, we love this. Oh my God, this person just got a new girlfriend and she's so thin. That means something so good about him that he's dating this girl that's so little. Just a really weird mentality kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like the questions are always well, what are you on? What are you doing? What are you doing? And the answer is we're eating right and we're exercising. That's the truth of it. It's
everyone wants a quick fix.
Everyone wants a quick fix. So
and there isn't one. I mean, not that lasts.
There is that level of accusatory that we'll get. It's what did you do? What did you do? And it's
I just cut it off.
It's not bulimia. Yeah.
And I go to the gym.
It's really only when it's skinny bitches that ask me oh, well, what did you do? You don't fucking care. I don't know. You're looking for did I do some fucking magic spell to lose 40 pounds?
But at the same time, I also get that too, because then it's if I've noticed, if we've had friends in the past who've dropped a lot of weight, I'm I wonder what they're doing. And it's the thing you don't want to admit to yourself ever is it's just being healthy. It's making right choices. Right. Is what you're doing. Everybody wants kind of a quicker thing. Yeah, but that is annoying.
I think what this all comes down to is it's probably better to just ask a leading question of hey, you look great. And I can't think of a good way to put it right now. What happened?
Well, is I'm thinking of in my head, question, or is it better to be oh, you guys look awesome? Or
hey,
look, if anybody's ever said you look great, I've never been offended. I've never been hurt by that. It's thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can say that, and then I don't think there's a so what did you do that has to follow it, or that's necessarily a good idea. But it can, that conversation can happen naturally after the compliment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you can, as a person who wants to, not me, I'm touching myself as if it were me. I definitely don't need to be losing weight anymore. But if I were in that situation and I wanted to know, that's the sort of thing that I think that would be okay to say, and you guys can disagree if you feel that way. But I've been trying to do that for a really long time, and I have not been able to figure it out. Figure out what works for me, and then I feel at that point most people would volunteer something if they wanted to talk about it.
For sure.
And you're not pushing.
I think with
anything, it's about you again. It's not about, you're not putting it on the other person anymore.
Yeah. I think with anything in any scenario, it's always about sort of your level of closeness with the person too. So like with us, we're friends, right? So it's like comfortable for you to ask.
We, though?
Well, for the listeners, for the purpose.
Sorry,
but I mean, it's like comfortable for you to like ask questions to talk about it. But if it's like someone who I met once like a year ago and then ran into again, and they're like, "What are you doing? Like, what's happening?" Like that would maybe be a little more like, "Whoa, bitch," you know what I mean?
The bad version that I've heard, because pretty much everyone I've encountered that's been kind of weird about it is like they're just trying not to be offensive, right? So like recently I had a friend be like, and I kind of felt like what you're saying, where it's like when I was doing Whole30, I felt like, oh my God, I've lost so much fat. It was like 5 pounds, right? But like for me, I was like,
that feels like
I've
a lot
lost
for
so
you,
much fat. It was like, I felt so much better in my body. And I
Yeah.
was like, no one is saying anything. I was like, I'm working so hard. And like no one said anything almost the entire month, except for you. You definitely did.
I always have to compliment
I just didn't
someone's
see
physical
you.
traits.
Well, yeah, and for the most part, it's
You're
like
so superficial.
I wouldn't
Always
expect
Richard.
people who see me every day to say something because you don't see the change,
gradual,
right?
yeah.
But like I had a coworker at the same time who was losing weight, and she was not working as hard as I was at all. She just had more weight to lose, so it was more noticeable. And so she just made some very basic changes, and I was like, I'm cooking every single fucking meal. I'm working out 5 times a week, and it was mostly to be healthy. It wasn't because I wanted people to tell me, oh, you look skinny, you know?
Yeah.
But it was like in like week
You
3
like to know that it's working.
in like week 3 or something, like Jacob was like, you look so much thinner. Has anyone told you how thin you look? And I was like, no. No one no one said anything.
But it matters
the
that
thing
it
is,
came
like,
from Jacob.
I literally couldn't tell.
Well, but you see me all the time, so
Yeah.
you wouldn't notice a difference.
Yeah, and Richard and I talked about this at one point, and I was like, I don't know why she's doing a diet because she's already really like thin.
Well, you don't see
I
under
don't like
my
the word
shirt.
You're a
thin,
very
but-
fit person.
Yeah,
though.
you're
You're
that's,
always
that's what I
very-
tell
You're
people
always-
too. Nobody sees the stomach.
I mean, you've touched it.
But-
You know how soft it is.
yeah, but I mean, mine's a little soft.
But I
too.
also know that you work hard. You've always, since I've known you, worked hard to like be fit, to like be doing tennis, to like go on runs, to just like take care of yourself. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah,
So I
I would-
always picture you. Like I have this picture in my mind of you always as like very fit.
Yeah, I was mostly surprised at like, why do you need to do a Whole30 diet?
You don't need to. It's just to make
I
you
didn't
feel
need to.
good.
It was because it was much more for the eating habits. Because
Yeah.
I felt, because like, you know, the new year happens, you eat pretty healthy, and then January's done, and you start eating the same old shit again. And like, I have high cholesterol, and I felt like I was kind of just eating whatever I wanted. And this is the first diet I ever did that like actually helped my cholesterol. And so it was much more for health reasons. But because it was
still.
so hard, like because it was so strict and so fucking healthy, I was glad that it was also having like, oh, it's that extra stomach fat I didn't want, and like whatever. And so then like when like no one said anything, I was like, is it even noticeable? And then like weeks passed, and then a bunch of people would be like, oh, hey, you did your Whole30? You look really good. Or like, hey, I think that was like I think it's looking good on you. You know, like to be like, you don't look too thin, but I don't want to say you were fat before. Like you look good. And all these compliments happened after.
Later.
And I was kind of like, I kind of wish it would have been like when I was like,
Yeah,
oh my
'cause that's
God,
when you
10 more
want it.
days to go, you know?
Yeah, but it's one of those things like I still can't tell, but you still like I thought you looked healthy before and you look healthy now.
But the point
so it
is,
was-
I understand what
So-
you're
so
saying.
like
but
a
I
friend,
totally get where you're coming.
You're
from.
a friend
working
told me
hard.
like 2 days ago, he was like, yeah, I told my friend like I felt really weird saying this to you, but like I feel like your lifestyle change was good. You look good. And I was like, it's weird that you told your friend that, but you didn't feel like you could tell me, even though like you were seeing me and I was talking about how I was like cooking all my
That's
own food and you saw me
annoying.
eating lunch or whatever. But he just felt so uncomfortable with the idea of like paying the compliment that he was like, well, you're still doing good, so I can definitely pay it now and be like, you still look great, you know?
I think a lot of people have had adverse reactions from almost everybody they know at this point. That it's like they are afraid to make that compliment because there's a backlash. Sometimes.
I think it's a lot of what we see like out on social media and like stuff that we're seeing outside of friendships that like maybe a man would be less inclined to compliment a woman who's their friend because of like the climate of today, like a woman
have definitely been in that situation.
where a woman may like they may feel that a woman doesn't want that attention, that kind of like compliment from a man, because right now being a man is not a quote unquote good thing at the moment. And so like that might be somewhere where your friend was coming from, where he felt like he could tell his friend something about you,
Right, but he
like
didn't
telling
want it to
you
be like-
directly
Yeah,
to comment on your body.
I think
Right.
a lot of men
Yeah.
don't know what's appropriate
And
right
then-
now,
Right.
which is understandable because they're finding out that a lot of things are not appropriate that
Right.
they didn't know.
Well, I have this 70-year-old coworker, man.
Yeah, but not for it. I don't know how
most
common
men,
it
I
is.
suppose it is.
It should be, but yeah.
But I mean,
it's
I've
clearly
definitely
not
like
for a lot
held
of
off on
people.
saying something about definitely somebody's like, if they've lost weight, if a woman's lost weight, I tend to not, because I don't want to be offensive and imply that, sometimes they'll be like, wow, you look really fit. Like that's, I feel like an okay thing.
That's easier.
That's gotten a decent response. But even like if somebody gets a haircut or something, I don't want to be like the first one to jump on that and be like, oh my God, you look amazing. Because
if I notice,
I usually wait till somebody else says something, then I'll jump on the bandwagon.
I always try to compliment haircuts unless I don't notice them. Obviously, I wouldn't know to do it. But or if like I legitimately don't like the haircut, then I leave it alone. But I try to just say, I try to make the compliment when I do like it, so that it doesn't sound like I'm, I hated all the other ones.
I usually compliment it whether it's a good haircut or not. If there's a change in hair, I'm like, oh, that looks good. So. I'll do that for men and women. If like my old boss would shave his beard every once in a while, and I did not think it ever looked good, but I was like, oh, good job on shaving that beard.
Did it.
So yeah,
I would like to put out one little PSA here, though, since this is something that I've experienced and don't like around this subject, is if you don't say to somebody, "Is everything okay?" You look very thin.
I wish someone would say that to me. That's what I want. The day someone tells me you need to eat something, I'll be like, yes, I did it.
I've dreamt of that day.
So it's like I spent about 2.5 months losing weight and getting in better shape, and the goal wasn't to like lose a ton of weight or anything, but because I happened to be on medication that made it very hard to eat, I ended up losing weight a lot faster than I expected to. And I never got to a point where it was like in the danger zone. I had a healthy BMI the whole time with a good margin. But I normally look what I would call gross thin at my normal weight. Like when I was a teenager, it was like my dad would thin shame me, I suppose. I was forced to drink a protein shake every morning.
Oh, wow. What a dream.
Is that why you're gay?
It might be why I hate cum.
Oh.
Oh, that's not a surprise.
I don't think any of us need a reason to not like to drink
cum shakes every day.
Yeah.
That was my real diet.
Does anybody like it? But
you look great.
No,
what are you doing?
It's the cum.
Guzzling.
Okay.
Yeah. I suggest just watch the porn, but I don't
Twice
think
a
that'd
day.
be enjoyable.
No snacks.
doing?
It's all I need.
Oh my God. How do I do it?
Oh, you guys, are we?
Answer's right next to you.
The cum diet.
Cum
The cum
shakes,
diet.
yeah.
That's how you lose weight.
Yeah.
It's all
Cum
protein.
shakes a day.
Yeah.
Well, we better just go to our cum shake sponsor so we can get to some questions then.
Yeah.
Erica, what was your 76-year-old?
I was gonna say, because everything we've said has been like people trying to be polite, you know.
Right.
So I have this 70-year-old coworker, and he is a little bit sexist and a little bit inappropriate around women. And so my coworker, the one who had lost like 20 pounds, it was fairly obvious. And he walks next to her and he like puts his arm around her and is like,
no.
Is it considered okay to tell a woman when she's lost weight? I don't know. Is that a weird thing to ask? And I was like, well, once you've said that, you've already made it weird. And she was like, no. And he was like, you look like you've lost a lot of weight. And I was like, that's the bad version of saying that. Like, couldn't you have at least followed up with like, oh, I didn't know how to say it, but like, oh, you're looking great or whatever. But he was like, is it weird for me to ask if you've lost weight? You're asking. Like,
it's
you're asking
weird
the question.
for you to put your arm around me and then ask.
And like, it was like he was trying to be like, well, I don't want to make this a sexual thing, so let me make sure I'm not being weird. And he did the exact opposite, you know?
It's hard, and it's hard to get around that. Like, I understand people faltering at that, and I appreciate that when people are at least making an effort to try to not be dumb, because then it's like a teachable moment at least. But it is, like, it's so awkward for people to have those conversations, and it's tough because, like, clearly we want to hear positive things about the progress we're making and not negative ones.
Yeah, and one thing that happened to me a year or so ago was a coworker saw me and went, "Dang, you've gained weight."
Oh no!
So
wait,
when was this? This was at work.
No, but like
when? So
when? It was like a year or two ago.
Who is it? I want names.
So like
you could just go after
I would
anyone
take
there.
that from a friend. I mean, like, I wouldn't take it from a friend, but like I would, like, a friend were to say that, I'd be like, oh no, like, I need to do something or whatever. But like a complete, like, almost stranger,
Why do you just like say it like that?
Saying it like that, I was like I had no reaction. I just kind of like made a face like, what?
But this is the kind of shit that's why people have body issues.
Yeah.
Lay off me, I'm starving. Dang.
It's the same sort of thing that I got with having lost apparently too much weight for someone. I mean, when someone is like, they're basically saying, what the fuck is wrong with your body
Right.
right now? And that's not something that should not be. If your statement can translate into that in any way, then you are doing it wrong. And that is probably the first step into figuring out what to say here.
Yeah.
It's interesting. This is all sort of a good, interesting area too, because it's sort of eye-opening. Like, everybody has their own relationship with their own body.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Erica, what you were saying, like, I always find you, and I love you, and I think you're so funny and amazing. I've always found you, like, very beautiful, very fit, and, like, I just picture you that way. But, like, I don't know that I would notice if you gained 10 pounds. I don't know. So, in the same way that I maybe didn't notice that you lost 5, because I, like, have this image of you, and I see you, and I have that image. But for you, your relationship with your own body is, I want to lose this in this area for me to feel good about myself after the holidays, and I'm not thinking about that. And your relationship, like, you're worried about being thin shamed, and in my mind, when you started talking about it for first, I literally started zoning off and like looking up to the sky because I don't know what that is. Like, I don't understand the concept of like being thin shamed, but then I like check back in, but it's like, all right, but that's like the relationship that you have with your body and what you were experiencing, and those negative connotations and the negative feelings is a different world than I'm used to.
For 3 months while I was trying to get in better shape, not to necessarily like look a lot better, like that. There's always some vanity in it, but there's but it's mostly like I still don't like this, but like having that like stomach inner tube is, I find uncomfortable. Like I don't like feeling my pants. So that around my waist, it's just I don't know. It's like
you get used to it.
It's a thing for me. I can't. I never did.
Right.
And I wear pants that are too big for me usually because I can't stand it. And I don't know. I'm like really sensitive there for some reason. So that's why I wanted to lose weight more than anything. Oddly. Well, maybe not oddly, but unfortunately, that's the place it went down the least.
Well, that's the thing. Bodies, you can't target fat loss is the thing. It's like you lose weight everywhere.
Well, and like you've known me for less long than like other people, though Adam forgets that I used to be a lot heavier all the time. But like
I you were losing weight.
I've seen the photos.
I was like 40 pounds heavier when I was in grad school, and so it's
that
like
was very I mean, like that difference I can tell.
Well,
Here we go.
but like the point is, for me, being 10 pounds heavier might be really different from someone who's always had an average weight.
Right.
Because for me, it's like, oh no, I don't want this.
You don't want to go back there.
Because like, I know where the train goes, you know? So that's why I have to like rein myself in all the time, is because I'm like, I can't just eat what I want and gain 1 or 2 pounds. I know that will just like, I don't have to eat that much. I will gain weight really easily. Yeah. And so like, sometimes I think people like, oh, they think I'm an asshole because like I'm like exercising all the time and doing all the shit because I have to like maintain my weight. But it's like, it's so easy for me to gain weight. Yeah. And I was heavier for so long that it's more impactful, I think, than if I had not struggled with weight early in my life.
Yeah. It's hard to like choose yourself too, because especially like food is such a social thing. Like, that's how you see your friends. That's what you, like, you grab food, you grab movies. It's really hard to be like, oh, we're all going to this thing, but I'm going to order this thing and, like, try to make it not a big deal.
I'll have a cum shake.
Yeah, well, the all-protein cum shake diet has been really great for John. Yeah. That's
I didn't think I lost that.
How you got so
ripped. That's why I'm always hesitant to answer the question when people are like, what are you doing? And I'm like, cum shakes. That's it.
Yeah.
No homo.
I mean, I want to say I wish it was that easy, but I don't, because that would not be easy for me. But that's the thing, is it's like, it's hard work, and then you want to get compliments on having done the hard work, not like, oh, you were fucking fat earlier and now you're not, or
dang, you gained weight.
Yeah, but, whatever people are saying about your body,
Richard, like, I can't even fathom that. Like, you've looked exactly the same since I've known you, which has been quite a few years now, 6 or so years now, but
has it really been
always
that long?
looked fantastic.
No, 2014.
What?
4 years?
Yeah, and it's probably been about
4 years.
Well,
it feels like a lifetime.
Through one IUD
feels like a lifetime.
cycle.
Yes, that's right.
That's how we measure our friendship.
We're doing measurements
5
of time
years,
and IUD cycles.
Yeah.
Because I got this. Yeah, because I came on to the podcast to talk about the IUD for the first time.
Yeah, that was the first time. And now in a year, you're going to have a new one?
I'm going to figure something out.
So about 4 years.
John suggests that I just swing by and pop a new one in because it's so easy.
Swing by.
I didn't say that.
After your cum shake, you just boop.
Yeah, you said exactly that.
If I said that, I was kidding. I know what you went through to put that thing in. Trust me, I know.
Can't you just do it at home, Lindsay?
Do you have to deal with that whole thing all over again?
To get it out and to put it back in, right?
Yes.
Wow.
So
Got the
Hold
second
on,
one
we
up
can't
there.
get on another topic because we got to get to this question.
We've got a bunch of questions.
it'll be pulled out and replaced, basically.
Oh, okay.
very painful.
Should we live stream it this time?
Probably.
Maybe we'll do an IUD special.
We can do one of those like inner space cameras that goes straight up the veg
Oh,
and just watches the entire thing.
It could be. I haven't seen that filmed yet. I've seen a penis go in, but not unfortunately. I've seen that more than once.
This is all in the area of bodies. Our bodies and you,
Yeah.
Our bodies are choice.
Our bodies
you're
are
all
choice.
Very
beautiful.
special episode of the Awkward Human Podcast.
Everyone is beautiful.
Which
Do
I
what
totally.
you want.
Oh, that's
I hope
so
we
nice.
get a bunch
Not-
of emails for the listeners that are like, "You guys look great. What are you doing?"
I know. Well, I just realized too. I totally forgot about the cameras, and I would have showered. So, sorry.
I didn't forget about the cameras, and I didn't shower.
Great.
I called my mom instead.
To wish her a
Sounds
happy
like
Father's
Day.
Day.
Father's Day,
Nice.
right?
I mean,
You have a mom?
I could elaborate on that, but I won't.
Okay, so I'm reading the first question, right?
Our first
Great.
question.
we're
which
still
is
doing
a-
this? Okay.
a comment.
I'm hungry.
Our first question is a comment. Well, I guess we'll find out. It's from Reginald Farquaad.
Yes, I felt like you had to read this one.
He says, "Dear Darren, Adam, Richard, and the irritable Canadian one, who in a recent episode I listened to got upset about being lumped in as a friend of Adam's and encouraged people to make words out of the host's initials. Can't you, as Richard is, just be happy for Adam,
Wow.
irritable Canadian one?" I'm like, "Be happy
Wait,
for
what?
you,
I
bitch."
have no idea what they're talking about, but okay.
This feels very gendered to me.
I mean,
So the three men are hilarious, but
I-
you're an irritable Canadian
ugh.
woman.
well, I think on episodes with Darren, that's how she is going to come across because Darren hassles her.
And
a lot.
he's not a problem. He's not the problem.
That's what I'm saying.
I
As
didn't
the
say
white
that.
male.
Time's up!
I'm just explaining why you are
Time's
reacting
up.
that way.
I think it's because someone wrote in and they were like, "Hi, Adam and friends," and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that's all we are. We're
Yeah,
just
I-
Adam's friends."
Yeah, you were making
Oh,
a
I see.
joke,
I
and
see,
then
I see, I
Darren
see.
made it into a thing like he does, and
Call me a rat lady.
Jesus.
well, he calls them the brat and the rat, him being the brat. So it's not Darren's.
Great.
Darren's playing fairly for the most part.
I'm a picture of a rat
is
lady
a
in his
lot
phone.
worse than
What's the
brat.
question?
But he's not.
There's so much more here.
What's
It's all in good fun. It just doesn't always sound like it.
Gotcha.
Can't you? Oh, yeah, we said that. I did check on my work phone, which I had Spotify installed on, but had never used it for podcasts. So, in that regard, it was a clean device at the time about episode 103, and it was still Richard's podcast rather than the Awkward Human Survival Guide. I've just checked, and now it has, however, upgraded to episode 103, so all is good now.
Yeah. So
What-
he
what is
wrote
happening?
in to tell us that episode 103 was accidentally
Wasn't
an
that, like,
episode of
so
your
long
show.
That was like 4 months ago.
Yeah, and this is he finally
Thank
got
you.
to 103. So,
Did he actually
and-
mail the letter?
and has mentioned that we have a few things to update Reginald on,
Pony
but we'll get
Express.
to him.
It's happening.
But yeah, anyway, he's just saying that episode 103 is now the Awkward Human Survival Guide like it was intended and
Thanks.
not what I watched last night.
There's so much more, guys. In the episode I've just been listening to, you requested that listeners who write in notify you as to the situation they listen to your show. Don't remember
this
doing that.
I don't
Like
remember,
how
but
you
it doesn't
listen?
surprise
Yeah.
me.
This was triggered as someone had just commented that they enjoyed listening while on walks. I did initially listen at work, but found I couldn't continue this as my work output would drop when I did. As such, I'd say over 98% of my listening has happened while driving to and from work. I probably do about 2-3 episodes a week, although sometimes I'll listen to music, though as I know eventually I'll get to the point where I'm not able to consume shows at the rate I do currently. So like to from time to time prepare myself for that day. I don't know what that meant. I don't, after all, want to get to be in the same situation as Jason from episode 40 when the Colbert Report ended, although in my case, it's not that sex follows listening to episodes, as half the time when I finish listening, I'm walking into the office. This feels like a big inside joke that even we don't get.
Well, yeah, and he's referencing a lot of episodes from. I remember
Episode
that-
40? Dude, we're on like episode 300.
I don't know why I don't. Well, 215, but
Same.
Even still, I remember that question though, where Jason was having like a sex problem after the Colbert Report ended because he was because he was having sex with I think he was having sex with his wife or his girlfriend.
They would watch the
after-
Colbert Report in bed and then they would fuck. And then the show
Yeah.
ended and he was like, when are we going to fuck?
Yeah, they couldn't, it was like
But
apparently.
like, come on, no one knows what you're talking about.
Well, I have to say he is giving the context we asked for. I don't think he can do much more than that. So compliments for doing
more.
that. That's appreciated.
All right,
Keep going.
That said, we did once have a director walk in one morning and announce to us all that he had, after years of practice, he finally mastered tantric wanking the previous evening. He has also taken it upon himself to educate everyone on various sexual practices such as pooning, nothing to do with poo. If you search for it, then the definition he gave was the one on Urban Dictionary that includes the phrase, while maintaining the romantic mood and a hot lunch. Can't say the same for that one.
Yeah,
when I hear hot lunch, I just think of fame.
The syntax in these sentences is not the best.
Yeah,
time's up for that director. He needs to not be talking about this
Time's
stuff.
up!
Okay, also, Reginald, is this a director of like...
Time's up!
Is this a director of a school or a financial organization or a film?
I don't know. I just assume film director.
We all do, but I'm trying not to assume that we're all in that boat.
So there's more.
Please elaborate when you get to this episode.
He says, I don't have a question, though, but as you requested in the latest episode...
I warned you it wasn't a question.
I've listened to 4 people to just say hi and let you know when they listen. I thought I'd capitulate. Again, an example of a sentence that could have been revamped a little bit. I'm now past the point at which I first started to listen to the show. Was an odd one, was when I played the first episode I listened to, I was thinking, I can't quite recall how the story with the meat boats is going to pan out, but I'm sure I have heard this one before.
That one I don't remember.
For a while, I was thinking maybe you had repeated it in a previous episode before realizing it must have been the first I listened to. Coming up on the point I first wrote in, doubt I was read out on the show at the time, but don't tell me if I was. I want it to be a surprise if I was. Parting point...
It'll still be a surprise you were.
My parting point on this message is that you should review the CSS for awkward.email site, as while it does prevent prying eyes from seeing what I'm typing, the yellow text on a white background makes for tricky editing. Keep up the good work, Reginald. Fuck, there's more.
Okay, wait. I need to address the CSS
Stop, hold on.
thing
He's
before we go.
editing things. Didn't edit this.
No. Okay, so I
think we have to get through this.
The text, he can't see the text he's typing
I know.
very well because it's bright yellow. Mm-hmm. And it used to be bright yellow because it was on a darker background. No, that's not true. It was correct color. I changed some other text to yellow, and then it changed all the text to yellow. And I didn't
but it's fine
that for a
now.
while. Well, it's been fine for months.
Maybe not fine at episode 40.
But he wrote in using the old conversation method, which we don't use anymore. And I happened to check it this morning, which was good because he just sent this in on the 12th, I think.
Okay.
And the...
of December 2012?
No, this month. Because I do check it still, just in case. Sometimes I forget one week, but sometimes things won't.
We gotta move it along.
So the addendum to this email.
Well, that's not the point.
What's the point then?
The point is that he's using an old system, and so no one should be seeing this problem. And Reginald, when you get to this point, just go to awkward.email and stop using that thread that you've been saving.
I
just
see.
don't know
because
the point
that's
of the
what's causing the
comment.
problem.
Yes.
Dear Dare. Actually, there is one observation I made in my
This is
recent
a second
listenings.
letter.
A while back, from my perspective, Adam called out the irritable Canadian. One, on
That's
why
you, baby.
some guests are
She has a
special
name,
and some just yes. The justification
and it's Rat.
The justification was given that on first outing they were special, but on repeat visits the magic was gone, so they were just guests.
What?
However, since there have been numerous first-time guests introduced as just guests, what's with that? I'm still some 50 episodes behind, so maybe someone already questioned this. If so, I'm sure I'll hear about it soon. Why don't you just catch up on all the episodes, and then you can tell us if you still have questions?
Wait.
Kind regards, Reginald Farquaad.
Don't alienate the listener, Erica.
I have
He is
no idea
very
what that
Alienated
was.
me. He called me irritable 4 times. I'm gonna be irritable.
Reginald, why don't you like women? Let's get to the heart of this.
No one else is irritable.
I'm trying to find the meat boat reference
Maybe
in another
he's
episode.
No
a
one else is
gay white
irritable.
man.
But I did find an episode called
it gay
Arby's
white?
Girl,
Maybe.
which I don't remember, and I really want to know why we have one called Arby's Girl, because that sounds great.
Arby's.
That was a lot.
Thanks for writing in, Reginald.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Reginald.
No thanks.
I do like your name. It's a cool name.
Farquaad.
Yeah, Reginald Farquaad.
Sorry to be
You know what
such
that's
an
from,
irritable
though, right?
bitch.
No, what is that?
From Shrek.
Canadian.
Well,
Must be on my period
I mean,
or
Farquaad
something.
is, I
Because
don't
you're
know.
an irritable
I
American.
thought Farquaad was from Shrek, but
I don't know if it's a Reginald thing, but we actually
Farquaad is
discussed that
from
when we
Shrek.
talked about his
Yeah.
question, which is why I remember
Next
that we
question.
did
it
read
just
it.
sounds like a really distinguished name.
Uh,
Is someone having sex somewhere?
No,
in
they're
your
like
house?
building
Yeah.
something.
They're always
yeah.
building something.
it sounds like sex, but it's just tooling in the shed.
Hey-oh.
Great.
Wish I had a cum shake right about now.
Well, just go visit our neighbor.
Is
I
it
mean,
like all cum?
Give us
Is
a
it
few
just
minutes. We can
No!
put something up.
That's the protein. When you have a protein shake, is it just protein, John?
Do you put like bananas in it?
You put whatever you want.
Cream, milk in it, I guess.
It's got plenty of cream.
Yeah, the cream is already supplied.
Oh, I thought maybe a cum shake was like specifically just like
usually
glass
like
of
almond
cum.
milk, to
Iced
keep
over.
the dairy low.
So it's not the Farquaad from Shrek. His full name is Maximus Farquaad. So this is
Shrek.
he's not really he's not the Farquaad from Shrek.
From Shrek.
Shrek.
I want to see that
Thank you for
movie.
clearing that up.
Schweck.
I don't know if they're related.
Be here.
Reginald, when you get here, which in a couple of years, let us know.
Cum
Yeah.
shakes from Wendy's.
Yes. Wendy's.
I think they're on special right now.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
They've got a BOGO
2
deal.
for $3.
Oh my god, we should totally tweet at Wendy's and find out if they'll ever make a cum shake.
I love
Yeah.
a Wendy's
Oh,
Twitter.
yeah, that will
They're fucking
do it.
Oh my
Who
god,
wants
Wendy's
to
are
crazy.
do
the
it? I
best.
don't.
I do an
don't.
In-N-Out
but-
cum shake right now.
Because I'm gonna get
I don't want to
shit for it.
alienate Wendy's because I love them.
No, I'm gonna tweet at them.
That would be a cum frosty.
I'm
wouldn't
a
it?
little angry at
Yeah,
Wendy's right now.
make
so.
sure it's a cum frosty.
Yeah, it's a cum
Richard.
frosty, you guys.
Screenshot it,
disgusting.
and we'll update next week with proof.
DQ
Will you read
makes
our
a
next
cum
question?
Blizzard.
Next question.
Yeah, I could do that.
McDonald's makes a
Um,
cum flurry.
No, I can't find any Reginald
Why
Farquaad,
are
so I
you
guess he's
coming?
the real deal. All right, next question comes from Marco. Marco writes, "Hi, I'm writing about a problem with my parents. My name is Marco and I'm 22. The facts are these." Oh, this is the sad one. Okay, my dad...
Oh, good.
Well, I tried to put them in order of most depressing to least depressing,
Okay.
so we could end
So
on
the
a happy
comment
note
was
today.
that Erica just read for 45 minutes was the
Yeah.
most depressing.
Yeah, Lindsay, are you masturbating under the table?
Shaking a bolt.
Oh, okay.
Under
She's
the
definitely
table.
masturbating.
Yeah, I mean air masturbating.
I asked for a cum shake, so I guess
Okay.
it's coming up soon.
All right, well,
Any second.
hopefully you can get that orgasm while I get through this. I'm sure this is going to
It's
really
not
get
about
you
her
off when
pleasure.
you hear
It's
it.
about my protein.
All right, here we go. My dad drunk himself into a coma after beating up my mom, who would never leave him. I left when I was 17 to go work and get a degree, and I got it because I tried and failed to get my mom away from him. I think I read that in a way that made sound confusing, but him getting a degree is not related to the because I tried and failed. That was, he tried to get his mom away. Okay, anyway. It was killing me and I had to go. I get a call from her for the first time in a year to tell me he's in a coma from drinking. I said, good. She said I have to come see him and talk to him so he can hear me. She cries trying to convince me he's not beating her anymore, but I see she was full of shit when I get there. Then she gets up my ass about talking to him in the coma because she thinks Jesus will bring him out of it or some shit if he hears our voices. I was like, fuck it, since I came out here and I'll give her what she wants. I go talk to this man that makes me sick to look at and talk to him about what a shit he is. My mom cries because it's true, but then he fucking flatlines and is pronounced dead half an hour later. The problem, my mom thinks I killed him. She's telling people that I yelled at him so much that the stress made his heart stop or some shit. I am back in my life now with my boyfriend of 3 years and I'm happy as fuck otherwise, so I want to just forget it, but I can't. My mom is crazy, but she's still a victim who won't care more about her son after the man who beat her his entire life is dead and gone. She's got insurance money and his pension. She has her freedom, and I would forgive her, but she just wants to be his wife. I can't be her son and accept that. I can't do it. Do I have to give up on her, or do you think there's something I can do to make her see reason?
You 50-50 her. 50-51? What is it called?
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
When you force someone into a mental institution.
Oh, I thought we were saying like let's split the difference. No, you're just talking
that's
like
what I thought too.
put her in an asylum.
51-50.
Yeah, I don't know
Just,
about that.
I mean,
This is just a matter of time, honestly. I mean, like,
Yeah.
death, and in the case of the father, even a coma makes everyone a saint all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, given a little bit more time, I'm assuming this is all very recent, given a little bit of time, that shine is going to wear off, and she'll have some time to reflect and some time alone and time to realize her life has improved greatly by his absence. And I think at that point, it may still require him to come to her. I don't know if she's going to come to him apropos of nothing to just say, oh, hey, by the way, I was kind of a bitch to you about all this stuff, and I don't actually think that you killed your father, and even if you did, good job. I don't know if she'll come to you with that, but I feel like given enough time to sort of let this new life seep in, I think it'll clear itself up. I think
Yeah.
she'll realize the error of her ways.
You and I may have a different
Do we? Yeah.
perspective.
Well,
We have the mother damage.
I love my mom.
but I think-
We have the mother wound.
I think
this
we're all
mom
going to
doesn't
settle
sound like
on
your mom.
back
Yeah.
off from the mom for at least the time being. I think like that, whatever the reason is, we're all going to be in that position. I mean, like, are you both saying that you
No.
should deal with her?
No.
Here's the thing. How long were her and her husband together
a good
before he
question.
died? Did it say?
I don't. They're
Well, the
forever.
kid's whole life.
Well, yeah,
The kid's whole life, she's not going to get over it.
That's how
she
I-
is,
I agree
No,
with
she's
you.
not going to get over it.
We're-
She lived
we're
with
talking
this
about
for
22 years at least.
She's
Yeah.
lived with this for at least 22 years or whatever around that time. And she still thinks he's a saint. And like, does he describe what their relationship was like before he died, before he got in a coma and all that stuff? Like how she perceived him to be? Because that's not going to change.
No.
Like she lived with
I mean,
that
he-
for
as
2
far-
decades.
I mean, you heard the whole thing. I don't remember anything like that.
I agree with
Well,
you.
I'm just trying to figure out if I missed anything.
Yeah, no,
But-
I'm saying like I don't think you did.
I don't think she's going to change.
I agree with you. I feel like maybe Richard and I have a different perspective too because we both have the mother wound. But you also described your mother as someone who's crazy. You feel bad for her because she's a victim. I can say the exact same things about my mother. She's crazy, she's bipolar, but she was a victim of abuse as well. But you are trying to decide how many chances you can give her before you need to do what's best for you. And any woman who blames her child for something like this is
Yeah.
off of their rocker and crazy no matter what they've
Yeah.
gone through. So if you want to do her the kindness of giving her some time, but it seems like she's already had it. She had 20 years of abuse, 20 years of a chance to choose you, her kid, over her husband, and she never did. And if it's better for you to jump off of that bridge and stay on one with good people that make you happy and take care of yourself. I mean, you're talking to somebody who literally cut ties with all of her family because it just
Right.
wasn't good for me.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I agree with that. I don't know if I could do this if I were in his shoes. I don't feel comfortable saying I could definitely do this because it's not easy. But I would say to his mom, if she were mine, that like, you know, you can't blame me for Dad's death. You forced me to talk to him when I didn't want to. All I said were things that were honest, and if he heard me and died because of that, then that was his choice.
And that was your closure to have. That was your relationship to have.
And it was Marco's right to say those things. And if she has a problem with that, then I mean, I think he can say with confidence and in all fairness to anybody in their right mind that like I can't have a relationship with you as long as you're blaming me for this and putting him before us. I'm still here. I still love you, but you need to come. You need to come to me when you're thinking about this clearly and you've realized that that's the case. I will be there if you want to talk to me, but until then, if that's not, those are the conditions of us having a relationship, and that's what I would do in a vacuum. It's really hard to say, like, I mean, it's much harder to do something like that in practice. I can speak somewhat from experience, not at the level you two have had with parents, but I mean, I have one of my parents is causing some trouble and isn't changing, so. And that's hard for me. So at this level, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's easier because it's more extreme. I don't know.
I think
It's
the
not easy.
problem is that, you know, she lived with this for 2 decades at least, and this is what she knows, and it's, I guess it's easy for someone on the outside to be like, oh, you stuck with the situation and that was your choice and blah blah. But like, we don't know what the situation is. She could have felt that it was like the only situation she could be in. It could be that she learned to be loved in that way, like that she learned that was the only way she was going to be loved, and so that's like her mentality or whatever. And she probably, maybe your life was better for being with him because he was able to provide something that she couldn't at the time or whatever. Like, there are so many situations in which she would say in that relationship. But if it were me being in that situation, being blamed for someone's death and all that stuff,
way
like,
too much.
even at this point in my life with my relationship with my mother, I don't talk to her at all. If she were to come to me and like try to have a conversation to me, I'd be open to that and be able to have that conversation. But as long as you're being blamed for something that you know you didn't do and you know that is not right at all to be blamed for, like, don't go out of your way to try to make her situation better
By diminishing your own.
Yeah, you're diminishing your own. You're being blamed for this thing. She's going around telling the family that you did this thing, and it's just like, you can't keep yourself in that situation as hard as
that's
it
what
may
I'm saying,
be.
give her time. I think I mean, maybe I'm giving too much credit to this person. I just know that the one time my mother and I split up, it was sort of a similar situation where I was a teenager. She had divorced my dad of 22 years. He wasn't physically abusive, but he was definitely emotionally abusive and verbally abusive to my mother. They split up, and then soon after, my mom had a new boyfriend, and all of a sudden, me and my friends were hanging out. Anyway, it ended up in like fisticuffs between her new boyfriend and one of my older friends. And she basically blamed me, quote unquote, for fucking up her life. And that was the worst thing my mother's ever done or said to me. And we didn't talk for about a year after that. And now, given time, obviously this has been many, many years ago, but even pretty soon after it, maybe a couple years after that, she would be able to admit, like, that was the worst thing I've ever done in my life. That is, she's like, I don't have any regrets except for saying that to you. So I'm saying, and again, this lady sounds a little bit like closer to your mom's, and less from my mom. My mom's just a very reasonable person, and she's like, no, obviously, you know, she was just wrapped up in this guy who she did end up marrying and was married to for 13 years before he passed away, but and he was no saint. But anyhow, so I just think that, like, given my mom took a little bit of time, really reflected on that decision and that moment, and came out the other side apologizing to me. And it was apropos of nothing. I didn't bring it back up. I just came back into her life, I think, if I'm being honest, because I needed money. I was a broke-ass college kid. And ever since then, and she came to me shortly after that and was like, I'm so sorry for that. So I'm hopeful that that Marco's mom would be able to do the same thing, especially if she doesn't have to, like, work and, you know, doesn't have to, like, completely, like, rebuild her life from the ground up. If she has some moment to, you know, explore her own spirituality or whatever and really, like, reflect on things, hopefully she can come out the other side a little wiser and realize that her son is the person that she should be closest to now, and they have a new lease on life and a new chance to forge a new relationship and move forward. Hopefully that's what happens, but
I am too. I'm hopeful of that too. I think maybe my interpretation of the question is, should I be trying to make my mother happy or, like, help my mother at the expense of my own happiness? Because it sounds like you are happy. It sounds like you're saying, my boyfriend's great. I have a really good life separate from this family, separate from what's going on with my mom. This is all really shitty. This is dragging me down. So, like, is it bad of me? Am I a bad person for, like, cutting? Like, what do I need to do? That was sort of my...
Oh, sorry. In that case, that's sort of my... live your life.
But maybe I'm interpreting it wrong. But it sounds...
No, that is the question.
Live your life and give your mom your space, just like I did when I didn't talk to my mom for about a year.
That's what I said. I feel like the answer to that question is no. If you are in a good place, you stay in that good place.
Exactly.
You surround yourself with the people who are great, who love you. If your boyfriend is great, that's great. Your friends... Give the space if your mom does come around, but it's not on you. And at a certain point, if you decide you have to choose yourself and choose to be around the people who make you happy and cut ties with the people that don't.
Yeah.
And that's not bad, and that's not selfish of you. That's just self-care.
Yeah. And that's the upside of this situation, is it's so extreme that that's kind of an easy conclusion to make from our perspective.
Right.
Not from yours. It's very different. I mean, like, this is not something that anyone should probably decide to do without consulting another human being at some point. I mean, it's something you want to talk about because it's a big decision to make. But as any sane human being would say, you got to put yourself first in this situation for sure.
And it's not easy. It's a hard thing to do, especially to someone that you love. I mean, it's your mother. It's a hard situation to be in, and ultimately you'll be better for it because you're no longer inviting that negativity into your life. At that point.
Yeah. I mean, everyone usually has a point in their life, however extreme or not, that they have to set some sort of boundaries with their parents. And so this is just one of those moments. It's just kind of a intense one.
Good luck. That's really tough.
Yeah.
Should let us know how it's going.
In the meantime, swing through Wendy's drive-thru, get a cum shake, tell us how it is.
Thanks, Wendy.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault. Not your fault.
I don't know what we're doing.
It's not your fault.
They're referencing a movie?
Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, there you go.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault. R.I.P. Robin Williams.
Jerking off during it on an airplane, so... Yeah.
I'm sorry?
My friend was jerking off during the sex scene in Good Will Hunting while we were watching it on an airplane.
Time's up!
If you have a question, story, comment, or whatever for the Awkward Human Survival Guide, we want to hear it. We read everything we get on the show, censored for your privacy if you wish, and might laugh about your problem because tragedy loves humor, but genuinely want to help you out. If you've got something to share with us, even if you think it's stupid, send it in as anonymously or proudly as you wish. You can do all of that at awkward.email. You just go to http://awkward.email. Oh yeah, and watch the videos on YouTube, youtube.com/awkwardhuman.